You're gonna get used to wearing them chains after a while, Luke. Don't you never stop listening to them clinking. Because they're gonna remind you of what I've been saying. For your own good.
Wish you'd stop being so good to me, Captain.
Don't you ever talk that way to me. Never! Never! What we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach.
That iconic scene from the movie classic Cool Hand Luke. And while this White House and a chain gang aren't synonymous yet, the problems with effective communication are still spot on. Between never explaining to Americans why we needed to attack Iran, let alone getting congressional approval, the changing rationales, the half-truths and outright lies, the calls for regime change and outright surrender one day and the indifference the next, the promises of ease of mission to the calls for predicted sacrifice the following day. A couple weeks into this war, we still don't know why we're fighting, what victory will look like, how long it will take, how much it will cost in blood and treasure, and what we will leave when we leave behind. It's not just the usual critics who feel left in the dark. When the New York Post, that's right, Rupert Murdoch's conservative daily, when their editorial board says the following, you know that Trump is in deep trouble. Quote, somewhere between the White House and the Pentagon, the nation's leaders need to start giving the public a regular, clear, concrete sense of how Operation Epic Fury is proceeding. Right now, regular Americans and experts closely monitoring the situation have good reason to feel confused. That includes the hundreds of thousands of people with friends and loved ones doing the fighting. Beyond the occasional in-depth presentation by General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, it's as if the administration expects the public to think the occasional high-gloss social media is enough. This is America's war, not the administration's private war, and Americans need to know more. A public that feels it's being leveled with as much as possible will be a lot more patient than one that feels needlessly kept in the dark, end quote. Again, that was from the New York Post. Now, they're of course correct, but they are presuming it's a messaging problem, not a crisis, and to that I disagree. The White House is in real trouble. To begin with, they suddenly have redefined what Iran really is.
I think you probably want to speak about war rather than this, but this is very important. This is very important, and we're doing very well on the war front, to put it mildly, I would say.
With every passing day, our capabilities get stronger and Iran's get weaker. We set the terms of this war, from start to finish.
Our country is doing really well. I mean, at a level that nobody thought. We took a little excursion because we felt we had to do that to get rid of some evil. And I think you'll see it's going to be a short-term excursion.
We know it's a war. Trump's newly coined little excursion has claimed 7 American servicemen and women and has left more than 140 injured, many of them severely. When pressed on those fatalities, Trump said, quote, "These things happen." Well, this small incursion also has a growing price tag, costing American taxpayers $11 billion in just the first 6 days. Beyond that, Team Trump has given us very little reason to trust him. After a girls' school was accidentally bombed in Tehran, leaving more than 170 dead, only publicized because journalists brought it to international attention, the president not only denied it was an American missile, but claimed without any evidence the Iranians had killed their own people.
Did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hegseth? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still investigating?
But the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
We think it was done by Iran.
When it was learned again by independent media, but then confirmed by the Pentagon, that it was in fact a U.S. Tomahawk missile fired, Trump not only declined responsibility as a commander-in-chief, he suddenly claimed amnesia.
As commander-in-chief, do you...
For what?
For the strike on the school in Iran. A new report says the military investigation has found it was the United States that struck the school.
I don't know about it.
Beyond adopting the cowardly motto of the buck stops anywhere but with me, this shameful incident was a completely preventable tragedy. Upon assuming the defense secretary position, Pete fired just about everyone at the Civilian Protection Mission. That's an agency designed to protect innocent non-combatants. Pete also fired military lawyers, whose job it is to make sure that we follow laws of armed conflict. If they had just bothered to use Google Earth before launching a bombing mission, they would have seen their intel was years old, and a military target was now an elementary school. That they couldn't acknowledge this even after being confronted with damning evidence, let alone show a scintilla of sympathy, is actually on brand. This week, we learned several press photographers assigned from major outlets like Reuters and the Associated Press were barred from the Pentagon because apparently Pete was upset pictures taken of him were quote-unquote unflattering. That given the fiasco this mission's turned into, that this is what consumes his day is mind-boggling. But it is anything if not predictable. Listen to the tough guy talk from a guy whose feelings were hurt because they photographed his bad side. And consider this is the message he's giving to our armed forces.
We're unleashing the warfighter to be ready, trained, disciplined, accountable, and lethal. Every day, we have to be prepared for war. We're training warriors, not defenders. We untie the hands of our warfighters. Maximum lethality and authority for warfighters. Restoring the warrior ethos. We're going to go on offense, not just on defense.
He also doesn't believe the rules our military heroes put in place to distinguish us from folks like the Nazis should still apply to the US of A.
Unlike so many of our traditional allies who wring their hands and clutch their pearls, hemming and hawing about the use of force. America, regardless of what so-called international institutions say, is unleashing the most lethal and precise air power campaign in history. B-2s, fighters, drones, missiles, and of course, classified effects. All on our terms, with maximum authorities. No stupid rules of engagement, no nation-building quagmire, no democracy-building exercise, no politically correct wars.
And finally, Pete has his version of nursery school rhymes, and he believes Marvel movies, action flicks, and cartoons are the best symbolism of what America stands for.
Maximum lethality, not tepid legality. Violent effect, not politically correct.
Wake up, Daddy's home.
Welcome home, son. Here we go again.
Strength and honor.
Strength and honor.
What will you do without freedom?
Mavericks inbound.
Maximum effort. Finish him. Here it comes. Now end this! Flawless victory.
But if I had to choose one incident that encapsulates the war planning, competency, and believability of this White House, it would be what we learned in the last few days from the Strait of Hormuz. That's the critical waterway that's essentially been shut down by the Iranians with threats of airstrikes and sea mines, making it impassable for oil tankers. Consequentially, 20% of the world's oil is not getting to market, leading to a global crisis that you can feel with skyrocketing prices and pain at the pump. For some reason, this foreseeable development was never considered by Trump and friends, and they're now scrambling to react, including lifting embargoes on the Russians, who we have learned have given intel to the Iranians to target American soldiers, but were rewarding them. So, Trump decided to reach out to his buddies at Fox and Friends to let them know, and the world, that the water is safe to go in.
the administration announced $20 billion maritime reinsurance plan. So he's saying, hey, guys, even though we get the oil, the market's flush, this is fear, I'm still going to insure your ships, so go through the strait. And, you know, that's just part of it. If you want to diminish the Iranian threat, if you want to make sure that this ends up with complete Iran capitulation, show some guts and go through that strait and do it.
Show some guts. Okay. There's a problem with this, though. It's not true. The U.S. Navy has declined to escort oil tankers through the strait, saying the mission is too dangerous. So, yes, our president is daring oil tankers to try and go through a strait our own Navy finds too perilous. As much as the president would wish otherwise, the public's not stupid here. Only 27% support U.S. strikes, not just because they haven't been effectively communicated with, but because they don't trust this brain trust competence or their word. It didn't have to be this way.